challenging one that we did.
I know. No, I know you didn't. No.
Yeah, we did have homework.
I know for a fact. I know because I looked at the page.
All right, it was
You're like,
technically it was just 1 through 6 all, so it wasn't quote quote technically all that bad,
yeah,
but I will agree that it was hard.
No,
Questions?
I don't know.
All right. Good news, bad news. Well, the good news is there are no Loki problems on the test.
Thank the heavens
Right.
above. I don't want.
However, the bad news is that to solve those problems, you had to do the constructions. So it would say, I construct something so to meet these conditions. The test is going to be, and I slightly didn't give you the full story because I wasn't straight myself. It's going to be on the 14 constructions and the one formula that we got in the entire chapter, which is that one on centroid, 1/3, 2/3 rule. That's it. It's going to be on. That's what's going to be for my honors kids. They're going to have Loki problems, but for you guys, it's just the 14 constructions and the centroid problems. So you guys decided that we're going to do 2 days of review. So if this turns into you're doing absolutely no work, then I'm going to stop and we'll just take the test tomorrow. So I need you to, participate. Participate means that you're doing the constructions. There are 14 of these. Now, when I'm teaching it, I'm not sure if I can get through all 14 in one class period. We'll try. But if there's lots of questions and you want to do it again for practice, then we might not get through all 14 one day, meaning that we had to finish it tomorrow. But my plan is we're going to do all 14, like in about 2 minutes, we'll get started. We're going to do 14 constructions, and then you're going to ask questions like, got it, not got it? Hey, let's do that one again, that sort of thing. If we do it correctly, we'll get through all 14 and we'll do the centroid problem. Those are the easy ones. And then we'll do that 2 days in a row. The same thing. Tomorrow we'll do the same thing. We'll just do construction 1 all the way through 14, do a couple centroid problems, and that'll be it. I'm not giving you, as I normally do, any practice test. The test is the 14 constructions and 2 centroid problems, right? And you'll see what the centroid problems look like here in a second. All right. I need to have 1 sheet of paper out and your straight edge and compass.
Oh, fine.
And then I need to change this so that the kids can see. Stop share. That looks good. Jenna, how was the videos? Were you able to see the constructions with the lights on?
Yeah, they were good.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Right.
look at that glorious week.
Oh my gosh, that's in 2 weeks. I know.
Oh, that's so much to
All right. It's supposed to be a crummy weekend this weekend. It's supposed to snow the entire weekend.
If I'm lucky, my practice and game.
What?
Then we don't go to school on Tuesday.
I don't think it's snowing into Monday, but
don't even
I
have
know
to go to
that
school next Monday.
when I looked at the last thing, it said Thursday, Friday, Saturday were snow. All right.
I'm here.
Hey.
I thought I could go away.
Before we do our first one, Matt, Danny, before I do the first one, just let me tell you how I'm going to grade this. It's pretty much what I did on the quiz, which almost all of you, exception of 2 people, almost all of you got perfect papers.
I didn't.
Right? You missed one little tiny point because you've got one little tiny mark. I'm looking for the marks, the arc marks that shows me you know what you're doing. Okay? I'm not looking for you made a perfect construction. Granted, we do the in center and we're trying to draw the circle inside the triangle, right? You never saw me once where my circle perfectly touched all 3 sides, right? That's not how I'm going to grade it on the perfection of your drawing. I'm grading on, do you have the right markings? If I see no markings, which I saw on a couple of your papers, there was no marks. I said, draw a congruent angle. You drew a congruent angle. You showed me no marks. That's how I'm grading. I got to see the marks. Okay. But yeah, there's 14 constructions. Once you're good at the constructions, I mean, it's 15 minutes to do these if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and you have to follow the instructions, perfectly fine. Well, then it's going to take you the whole class period to do it. But I don't want to make this seem like it's it's the easiest test of the year. You just simply need to make instructions. Everybody got a piece of paper out. Okay, let's concentrate more on the math and the eating.
Is this the paper that you are looking for?
All right.
The next.
So ignore that, I just copied this over from the plane. So all we're doing is we're gonna do the 14 constructions and 2 centroid problems. So our first, ignore what it says, box 2, whatever. I also, remember when I taught this the first time, I had construction 1A segment, construction 1B, the circle. We're not doing the circle, we're gonna do straight from the book, okay? If you don't like my instructions, hopefully you have them all copied down in your book, then you can copy what's in the book. All right, so our first construction was the segment. So here we go, step number 1. You grab your straight edge, you draw a segment that is longer than the given segment. You're like, well, how do I know it's longer? You're eyeballing it. Hey, that's longer. This is a 15-second construction. 50, come on, let's go, draw this. Step number 1, make a segment that's longer than the given segment. Danny, you with me? If you miss this one, I'm gonna stop grading your test at that point and just write the F.
But what if I miss it on purpose?
What if I miss it on purpose?
Well, then it looks like I get to grade yours very quickly then.
Okay.
All right.
Jim is like,
Step number 2, well, you measure the given segment. So I take my compass, I measure the given segment. Hey, it's that long. Step number 3, I take that measurement, apply it to the original segment I just draw. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for that arc. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that you drew a segment that was longer than this one, and then there's an arc right there. And yes, I'll take my compass and measure yours to make sure you just weren't messing around. Well, he's just looking for one arc. I'll just draw one arc. All right. So it's got to be accurately measured, and then finishing it up, you put a dot where that arc is, label AB, and it's got to be what, CD, and you're done. 15 seconds. That's it. I said it's about 15 seconds. It says write a congruency statement. I will not require you to write, just so they would like you to write AB is congruent to CD. Okay. But I will look to see that you label it, right?
We have to label.
It's still just 15 seconds to do this. Question on construction 1. Do you want to do it again or you got this?
no, it's like
I
think we should do it five.
Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing.
I
Okay.
didn't get it.
I think we should do it five.
Construction 2. This was the one that immediately some people got wrong.
Micah.
No,
I'm not asking you to take your protractor, measure it, and redraw it. I'm asking you to use your compass and protractor. Compass and straight edge, sorry. Step number 1. You need to draw one side of the new angle that's slightly longer than either AC or BC. Slightly longer. Doesn't have to be, 4 times as long. That's step 1. Step 2, you will open up the compass to a distance. Doesn't say how big, but you need to be able to draw an arc through the 2 legs of the given angle. You want to have it really small, well, it'll work that way. It just isn't as accurate. So you'd like it to be, I don't know. There's no right answer to this. You just open it up so that I can make an arc between the 2 legs of the given one. So I make an arc between the 2 legs of the given one. I don't change that measurement. I walk over to my new ray and I do the same thing. I'm going to make that arc so it looks like what I just did over here. When I grade it, what am I looking for? I'm looking for that this is longer than one of these. The reason why it's got to be longer because you're trying to find this intersection. Okay. I just open it up to a distance and I make this arc and then I repeat it right there. Say again. Use right words. Randomly do the arc. Yes. But Danny, if I open this up too big,
Twice, Micah.
I can't tell that it went through the 2. So I'm opening up to a distance that's no longer than AB or AC. But randomly is the right answer. It is random. Any distance works as long as it's not larger than AB or AC. Doesn't have to be over half for this one. You can, it's just not as accurate. Step number 3. Now we measure this distance, the distance between this intersection and this intersection. I'm measuring between here and here. So I take my compass and I measure that distance. I try to be accurate. There's the distance. I take this is step 4. I go from this intersection and I make an arc through the other arc. This is what you didn't have on your quiz, nor you, Connor. That's step 4. Step 5, we connect this point to that intersection. We connect this point to that intersection. This is a, I don't know, 30-second one. And that'll end that one. Now the two angles are congruent. If you know what you're doing, that's about 30 seconds. What am I looking for? This one has to be longer than AD or AC. I'm looking for that big arc on both of them. And I'm looking for this one extra arc. This is what one person was missing. It wasn't, it was somebody here. They just left off this arc right here. All right, that's construction 2. What do you mean by I have to draw it exactly like that? You have to do all the steps just like that. There are additional steps here that say label. You are only marking that one right there because what you're going is from here to there. Hey,
Is that a
Chill.
banana? Can I take a bite?
you got to tell me what part you didn't get. Which step? Did you draw this arc? Did you draw this arc? Did you draw that arc, which is the same arc? This arc and this arc are exactly the same. Hey, you two, stop.
How much sleep did you get?
Hey, come on, don't get them fired up. Once that's done, we're measuring this distance and we apply that to right here. Yeah, Danny. The top line is, or the top or the second leg of the angle is formed from here to that intersection of the two arcs. I get this intersection of the two arcs and I connect it. And that's what makes the vertex of the angle. Now the two angles are congruent. Say again, Danny? Okay. Are we okay on this one? All right,
Okay.
Danny, we're going to do this again tomorrow. Make sure you are good by tomorrow. Tonight, I would practice this one. Open up your book to construction number 2. Read how they describe it. Same basic way I describe it. Practice this one. All right, construction number 3, angle bisectors. You're going to need to draw an angle first. So draw an angle on your paper. Draw an angle. Stay in front of the camera. Draw an angle. And then we're going to bisect this angle. This one has the same feeling, flavor as the previous one, but it is different. Step number 1, Danny said what? Open it up to any distance? Yes, open it up to any distance. As long as you can draw an arc through the two legs of the angle. So you're going to open it up to a distance. You're going to draw an arc. I'm opening it up to a distance. I'm going to draw an arc. Danny, good. Construction 2, there are 1, 2. Well, the other one is you just draw it twice.
But who asked if I asked?
You got which construction are you on right now? Okay, we're on construction 3. Okay. Is everybody okay? Step number 1, you just draw that arc. Step number 2, are you listening? For me, I don't change the distance. Now you can make it longer. There is a limit on how short you can make it, but I just never change the distance. Hey, move away. Okay.
Hey, wait, what you paying?
Up here, come on. You're wasting my time.
I got you.
I don't change the distance, right? It's possible that it's too small. If I draw that first arc really small like this, right? It's possible, but not probable, even this one will work, that it's not large enough. So for me, I always make my arc nice and large like this one, and then I don't change it. You can change it. It's not a requirement. Step 2 is we go to the 2 intersection points of the arc and the 2 legs. You see that? See the 2 intersection parts? And I simply make 2 arcs in the middle, one from each intersection point. From this one, I make an arc in the middle. I don't change the distance. And from the bottom one, I make an arc. Notice the 2 arcs will intersect. So from this intersection and this intersection, I make these 2 arcs, 2 intersecting arcs. This is another 30-second construction. This one actually is a very easy one. We take our straight edge, next step, and we connect the vertex. Oh, my straight edge isn't long enough. I need a ruler. I connect the vertex through the.
Wait, how'd you get that?
When I said, were there any questions? How did I get what? What part?
That outside.
This? From here and here, I made 2 more arcs. Stay with me, Danny. Then I connect from the vertex through the intersection point, and our claim is that that is the angle bisector, and you're done. So what am I looking to grade? Got to have the big arc, and I got to have these 2 arcs right here. Obviously, I have to connect the vertex to the intersection points. 30-second construction if you know what you're doing. Connor, are you doing any of this? I would freehand it. I know you don't have a compass. You got to have one. Well, just do it. Come on. It is the easiest test of the year as long as you actually try this.
Under the
Danny.
Not like the other problems, like
3
that.
gum packets.
Why did you have?
Can I have one?
Which one? First or second? First one as long as you want.
Okay, I'll do it.
I want to chew your teeth.
All right. All right, here we go.
No, that's-
Practice again. Are we good to move on? Moving on.
Let's do it 5 more times, please.
The only one I want you to label is that first construction.
I didn't get it.
Okay, you don't like put like a dot?
You don't have to know.
So all the constructions will be on the test?
All 14. And we're on number 4.
For constructions, you have to dot.
You put a what?
Put a dot.
You can. It doesn't have to be. All right. Construction number 4. This is a minute construction. Okay. Construction number 4, perpendicular bisector. If you're really good at this, you can do it way under a minute, though. Okay. All right, here we go. Step number 1. You need to open up the distance to more than half. More than half of the length of the segment. Draw a segment on your paper. More than half. Hey, I'm really tired. Okay. There are people in here right now that probably aren't going to pass because they're getting distracted by you. Stop it. All right, more than half. If it's less than half, this doesn't work. More than half. Okay, any distance works as long as more than half. I'm going to make 2 arcs. One from point A and one from point B. I'm not changing the distance. One from A, one from B.
You make these as big as you want.
Well, you can't make it bigger than AB.
I mean, like the
More than half. You can't make it lower than half. It's got to be more than half. Step 2, for me, as long as my paper can take it, I don't change the distance. You can. From these 2 intersection points, Danny, look at the board. From these 2 intersection points, I'm going to make arcs above and below. So from this one, I make an arc. Some people do above and below at the same time. That might be too big. And then from this one, above and below.
you make it like
How did I get what line?
nice and long.
how do I make? I never changed it. I made it more than half, and I kept it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's too large. So for the bottom one, I'm gonna have to change it. I'm just out of space,
For the sake of
but
demonstration.
I can, as long as for one side, I don't change the length, and we're perfectly fine.
Just to be-
Notice I changed the length, but that was just for the bottom. For the top, I left it the same.
Easy.
Now we have two intersection points, top and bottom. I connect the intersection points, and I've made a perpendicular bisector. Notice I don't have to go all the way up to the intersection points if I don't want to. So that is a perpendicular bisector. And if you're curious, you can check. That is 13, one tick mark away from 14. And that is one tick mark away from 14. So it's a bisector and it's perpendicular. Yeah.
I have a proposition that might help some classmates
Go ahead.
figure this out. Maybe it can help people understand if you put dots like on your full arc. So what I sketched.
I got you.
was-
Yeah. So what he's saying is that his arcs are dotted lines, especially the more complicated ones. I agree. But when you make it dotted, you run the risk of maybe your dots won't intersect.
But no.
So if
Making
I
it
dot-
solid where the intersections are.
Yeah, but how do you know where the intersection is going to be until you make the intersection?
Okay, no. So my construction is first I make the intersection and then I
Erase.
dot the arc.
Oh, okay.
So the full arc.
Okay. So he's saying what he makes the intersection and then he makes it dashed. I agree. That'll work. Sure. If you like erasing.
Well, I mean,
All right.
I just read the dots, but
Yeah, but you have to have the intersection first.
yeah, I always do the intersection, but how to
Okay.
visualize. That's what.
So for me, if I'm really doing it by myself, I just make the intersection really. The problem is when you draw that first arc, you don't know where the intersection. I mean, you can kind of eyeball it. When I made this first arc right here, I made it long because I'm like, I'm not sure where the intersection will happen. The second one you can make really small because you've already found the intersection. All right, we good on construction 4? Another practice, or are we good to move on? Moving on. All right. Remember, there's 3 of these in a row that basically do the same thing. They make perpendiculars. The first one's a perpendicular bisector. The other 2 are just perpendiculars, not bisectors. All right. So this is construction number 5 from 14. Another minute one, bless you. Now go use some hand sanitizers, please. I know, but please.
Okay, then put
Do us a
some
favor.
hand sanitizer on your
All
sleeves
right, I'll
too.
use Chandler's.
All right. Construct a segment that's perpendicular that goes through C. So here's the only one you got to be careful with distance. Notice there's a long side AC and a short side CB. So when you make your distance, it can literally be any distance, but we need to make it smaller than the shortest segment here is CB. So make it slightly shorter than CB. If you make it longer, we run into problems. So I'm making it slightly shorter than CB. Make it, you see you got a long segment and a short segment. Make it slightly smaller than the smallest one. Like this. Slightly smaller than CB. You just open it up slightly smaller than CB. Okay? All right, step number 1, we're going to make arcs to the left and right of C with that distance. Basically, what you're doing here is you're making C the midpoint. So really what you're doing is the previous construction, perpendicular bisector. But since C wasn't in the middle, now we made it in the middle of these 2 marks.
Oh, that's easy peasy.
And then the rest of it is exactly like the previous one. Step number 1, open it up. We have to make arcs above and below. So this is what Seth was saying. So, I mean, I know that the perpendicular is going to be somewhere over here. So I can kind of eyeball where that intersection is. So I don't have to make these really large arcs. We only need to go above or below. We don't need to do both above and below. Because we have a mark, we'll be able to connect intersection to C pretty easy. And from the other side, make the intersection.
Can you do below?
You can. Sometimes I do that just to But remember, if you have 2 points, you can draw a straight line. You don't need 3 points to draw a straight line.
You need 3 points to not a.
You need 3 points to make a plane, but you don't need 3 points to make a line. Okay. And then all we're going to do is connect the intersection with the point, and you got a perpendicular.
Boom, bada bang.
Now, it doesn't say that it has to go below it, but I wouldn't mark it wrong.
That's probably as straight as I've ever been.
Notice once again, I did not make a perpendicular bisector, right? Let's keep it Disney rated, please. I didn't make a perpendicular bisector here, but if you notice between the 2 arcs, yeah, it's a perpendicular bisector. So it's that same construction as the previous one. The only thing is we didn't make arcs below. Why did we need it below? Because there was already a point here, C. All right, this is construction 5 of 14.
You haven't noticed the Seth was definitely Disney rated because Disney getting pretty bad.
That's what I was about to make that joke. I was about to be like, well, I mean, it is Disney rated.
When I was in high school is when Disney released its first PG rated movie. I was in high school and it was I want to say it was called The Black Hole was the movie, and it was huge.
Black Culture? Yeah.
Black Hole.
Black Hole.
I've never heard of Black Hole.
Well,
Black Culture
it's a
is
crummy
really-
Disney movie that,
Is
but
Don
I
Disney
one of the very
believe it's the
forgettable
first PG released PG rated movie.
There's a lot more
All right.
PG stuff nowadays than buying.
Construction 16, once again, I'm making a perpendicular, but this time the point isn't on, it's above. It's the same construction as the previous one. I mean, literally, word for word, it's the same construction. The only difference is that C is not on the segment. Okay.
So you just do
So
something
step number 1, you open it up to a distance, and we're going to make 2 marks on our segment. Now, if you open up really big, honking large, notice I wouldn't be able to make a mark there. So I need to open it up so that it allows me to make 2 marks on segment AB. There's no definition of how long it has to be. You just need to be able to make 2 marks. So I make 1 mark on one side, 1 mark on the other side, and the rest is done the same way. Now I have my 2 marks. Now I can open it up to any distance, as long as it's large enough. I already got 1 point, so I don't need to go above and below, right? I'm going to go above. Make an arc above. I can see where it's going to come down. Make an arc above. Don't change the distance. Do the same thing from the other arc segment intersection. Now I have my intersection. Stop me if I'm going too fast. Danny? Connor? You should stop me if I'm going too fast. Okay. And I connect that intersection through C to the line. This is step number 3. So from the intersection through point C to the segment, and I have made a perpendicular bisector, although technically between these 2 arcs, it is a perpendicular bisector. So all 3 of those constructions, 4, 5, and 6, yeah, actually you're making a perpendicular bisector. Construction 4, you're literally making a perpendicular bisector. On these, you are in some form or fashion, depending upon where your marks are, you're making a perpendicular bisector as well. We just don't call this in totality a perpendicular bisector, but certainly include these 2 arcs, and it is midway between these 2 arcs. Step number 1, open up your compass. Do you have your compass open? Step number 2, I'm giving you different steps. Step number 2, let me make this nice and blank. So step number 2, you're going to make 2 arcs on the segment.
Are these ones random?
Random meaning like I randomly open this up.
Yeah.
Now, if I have it really small, could I make 2 arcs on the segment?
No.
So it has to be a certain
So
distance,
it has to be like all,
has to be on the segment itself.
but it can be on any distance.
Any distance, as long as you can put 2 segments on it. And you're not changing it between. Step number 2 or 3, Danny, you open it up to a distance from this segment or this intersection and this intersection, make marks above it. Yes?
I'm kind of confused.
All I did was open it up again, and I'm coming from here and here. You can also make your marks below if you want. All we're doing is 14 constructions and centroid. That'll be on the test. We're doing 2 days of this practice.
Okay.
So all you got to do is practice and then ask questions. And then make sure it's on your book of truth. Last step, Danny, we connect that intersection through C to the segment. So I don't know, a minute to take you to do this if you know what you're doing. Are you going to memorize these? Probably after 2 days. Many of them you will. I truly believe that we're going to get to test day, and I'm going to have some kids that are none in 15 minutes on the test. And I'm going to have other kids that will work the entire 55 minutes and still won't be through question number 7. So don't be that kid. Practice it.
Is it gonna be 14?
It's going to be like 16 questions. So there's going to be the 14 constructions and 2 centroid problems. But like I said, it's just constructions. I mean, this is the answer. This is what I'm looking for. Hey, 2 marks here, 2 marks there, connecting. Now, how am I going to grade it? Well, I'm going to measure between here and here and make sure it's halfway. That's how I know that you didn't freehand it. Okay. Okay. Construction 7. Danny, we good? Construction 7. Now we get to a 2-minute one. So this is a more challenging one, the parallel line. Parallel line. So I'm going to make a line parallel to AB that goes through C. Parallel to AB that goes through C. This was the more challenging one. Step number 1. From A through C out a ways. From A through C out a ways.
That rhymes. I like it.
Notice my technical description, out a ways.
Out of ways.
Wasn't that a video game that outer something? Outer
Star Fox.
Wasn't like
came out about 2 years ago. Outer Planets, outer something. It was like a big
Outer
AAA
Worlds.
game that just bombed.
Oh, that's No Man's Sky.
That was No Man's Sky, and there was another one called Outer something. Yes, it
No,
did.
it did. It's bombed like Fallout 47.
It was everyone started to play it, and everyone was
46, yeah.
bored within
Oh,
like 30 minutes.
Hey,
Fallout
47.
Fallout 76.
Hey.
All right, back up here. Fallout 76 actually is pretty good now, but it was horrible when it first.
Yeah. I mean, No Man's Sky is going through the same stuff. It's gotten a lot better after a lot of.
All right, so this should be connected right. All right,
Perfection.
that's step 1. Now, in big picture, what are we going to do? We're doing construction number 2. Make a congruent angle. So this is really the rest of it, just construction 2. All right, so the next step, we open it up, Danny, to a distance. We just open it up to a distance. I make an arc. Any distance works, including really small ones, but it's just harder with small ones. So I open it up to a distance, make that arc, and I repeat that on point C.
Has to be greater than half.
Doesn't have to be greater than half. It can be any distance.
Can it be on?
It has to be on. You mean the pointy part has to be on C.
Do you not change the distance? Does it have to stay the same?
Has to be the same distance.
I'm gonna have to extend it.
Yeah, that's the one what we're doing. Okay,
I know what comes next.
what comes next, Seth?
Okay, so you have to measure it now.
This is just basically construction number 2. I'm going to measure the distance between here and here.
Yes.
I'm measuring that distance with my compass. So I measure that distance with my compass. That one. This is the only part you got to remember.
And then you mark
I
it.
go from here,
That point.
and I'm going to make an arc down here with that distance.
Yes.
From here, I'm going to make an arc over here with this distance. So I measured that distance, boom. I come over here to that intersection, and I make this arc.
Boom, bada bang. You got a point.
I said this was 2 minutes. It really isn't 2 minutes.
It's not.
But usually what happens, you're like, oh, that's the complicated one, and you're reading the steps, trying to figure it out. Let me catch up with the steps.
Mine's a little bit.
All right. Take our straight edge, and this is the last step. We go from C through that point right there, you're done.
Boom, bada bang, middle line.
From C now, we've all seen that we end up not making it. This is a hard one to do, but if it's done correctly, the two lines should be parallel. So if you look at mine, they're pretty parallel.
Prove that they're parallel.
Yeah, I think I'm dropping down just a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is the construction. And so what am I going to see to grade it? I'm looking for 1, you drew this one nice and long. 2, you have these 2 arcs. 3, I can see that other arc right here. That shows me that you measured that distance and applied it right there. And I guess last step, well, duh, you're making parallel lines. You got to have a parallel line. Yes, no, maybe. That's 7. That's halfway. Now, granted, I've been talking our way through, and we've done 2 of them twice. So I'm looking at time. I got 15 minutes to do 7 more. Okay? Yeah, it will.
Could you prove any of this?
I can prove them all. By the way, why is it parallel? Because remember, when you have 2 lines cut by transversal and the angles are congruent. Remember, we did construction too, so we made 2 congruent angles. So when these 2 angles are congruent, the 2 lines are parallel.
Oh my
That's the proof.
God. Do that so fast. That would take me 20 years.
Yeah, that would have been good.
All right.
That for me.
Construction 8.
This
Given
man.
a point on a circle, this was the one that was on your quiz. Given a point on a circle, make a line that's tangent. I had some people literally just draw a line through B and say, yep, it's tangent.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
No, right? But the construction is pretty simple. Here we go. Here's the construction. Step number 1. Are you guys practicing this?
I'm practicing this one.
Okay. Step number 1, you draw a segment through A, or from A through B, out a ways. Outer Limits was the game I'm trying to think of. Outer Limits.
There.
Wasn't that the TV show?
There was a TV show that as well too.
Yeah, the
It was kind of like a Twilight Zone.
Oh, sexy werewolves. Got
All right.
it.
What?
I'm kidding.
Anyways.
No, that's Twilight.
Anyways.
No, a different one.
That's the wrong one. Are you
That was
talking
Twilight.
about- Are you talking about like that one like that?
Yeah, the black and white one where it's just weird stuff all the time. Yeah.
Twilight Zone.
It's a menu. Isn't that what the famous one is? It's a recipe.
I'm not cultured.
I've never watched it.
Aliens come to Earth, and there's super smart thing, and then they have a book. I'm going to ruin it for you, but they have a book, and the title of the book is How to Serve Man. And so all humankind are like, oh my word, it's aliens and they're smart and they're going to serve us. And at the very end, the scientist who figures out what it means comes running, because they're taking all these people onto their ship, and they're like, come back to our planet. Come back to our planet. And then the guy's running like, it's a recipe book. How to Serve Man. It's a cookbook or maybe something like that. Yeah, it's all taken off there. All right. Now that I've wasted that time. All right, next step.
Oh, my brain.
Basically, what we're going to do is what we did the previous one. We're going to make a perpendicular through B. So we open it up to a distance. Any distance works. Right? As long as it's not bigger than AB. And we make 2 arcs again. It's the same thing again. Make an arc on that side. Make an arc on this side.
Wow.
I got my 2 arcs. I open it up to a greater distance. I don't need to put arcs above and below. I can either go above or below. Is everybody with me? I make an arc above. And from another intersection. Now, you can easily screw this up and think that you're going from point A. I'm not. Yeah.
You just run it up to
Any to anyone.
random length.
You got it.
Point A.
Yep.
And point A and B and you just mark it.
That's correct. Danny,
Fine.
Wait, so you marked it from B?
hold
Oh,
on.
wait, no, I know.
Step number 1, you got your line that goes from A through B, yes? Step number 2, look at me. I just open it up a distance. Any distance works. And I made these 2 arcs from B. Okay. Open it up. Look at me. Open up another distance. Any distance works. From here and here. Not A, but from this intersection and this intersection. That's where I made these marks. From here and then from here. Not B. From this intersection and this intersection. And that's where I got these 2 arcs. Last step. From that intersection through B, and we're done. There we go. There's a tangent to the circle A through point B.
Are we ever gonna like do more complicated construction?
Not this year. Nope.
No. Dang, man.
You want to?
Yeah, no, like I'm trying to figure out. I think I figured out in my mind how I would make a congruent circle about the center point just by measuring like.
You
finding
do.
the
So you
arc
put
length.
any point on the circle, measure it. There's your radius,
Yeah, and then you.
and then you can make a congruent circle.
piece. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of fun things we can figure out.
No.
All right.
Maybe I should take that in college. If I do.
Number 9. I don't have to. Number 9. Listen, please. You guys are losing your focus. Okay, number 9 is a bit more complicated. We are going to construct a tangent from C to the circle. Now remember, there's always 2 tangents. From any point not on the circle, there's 2 tangents. We're going to make one of them. This one is definitely probably a 3-minute one. Okay.
Do what you gotta do, buddy.
People from Boston.
All right. His 2 arcs are there.
I do not see that.
Matt, you're blind.
They're very small.
Ah. I make my own.
You see them.
Can you not see?
I could teach you.
Right there and right there. They're not curved. You freehand. Right.
You go to my shoe.
All right. All right. Here we go. Next one. Step number 1. We're not drawing a ray. We're drawing an actual segment from A to C. Draw a segment. From A to C, we draw a segment. That's step 1. Draw a segment.
Looks kind of funny. Like Baymax.
Stay with me. This one's complicated. Stay with me. Step number 2. We're going to make a perpendicular bisector. Open it up to more than halfway. More than halfway. Hey, please stop. Open it up to more than halfway. You're going to put 2 marks on your segment. 1. This can get messy because you got a circle there. There's my 2 marks. This can get messy, especially if it goes through the circle. We're making a perpendicular bisector of the segment, basically, what we're doing here. I don't change my distance. I keep my distance the same. You can change it if you like. So from those 2 intersection points, we make an arc above. Now we need both above and below for this one because there's no mark on the, ooh, just made it there. There is no mark on the segment itself. So we need above and below. There we go, above and below. Actually, I'm gonna need a ruler here for this one. Okay. Now, when you draw this, I don't need to make it big honking big. I'm just looking for the intersection points with the segment. You can draw it as large as you want, but you don't need that. All I need is where would this intersect the segment?
You wouldn't be mad if I just made the lines as
I
big and
wouldn't be.
dramatic as possible.
But there's mine right there. That's all I need.
Just drew 2 full circles. Like that.
take up the whole thing. Yeah, that's what I'm fine. Make it. Look
And
like
when
a
you open
blank.
up the book, there's going to be a big and honking as well too. This is the messiest one of their constructions. Okay, this is the one where they draw a circle. You don't need the circle, but they'll have a whole honking circle drawn on this.
Fun.
Okay.
I can make eyes.
All we're looking for is where the circle would intersect the original circle. All right, stay with me. So here's what I'm going to do. You see the segment I just made? I'm going to measure the distance between there and C. You could also measure it there in A. But I'm going to measure that distance. Okay, there's that distance. That's the distance between here and C. Here and C. Now the book will have you draw a circle from here. So you get this big circle. What we're really interested in is where this circle would intersect the original circle. So that's all I ever draw. I don't draw the whole circle. I did it in class once, but all I need is where would that intersect the circle? Well, it would intersect it in two spots. Here's one. Here's the other one. You don't even have to draw both of them. You only need one of them. Those 2 points on the circle are where the tangents live. So what do you really need to do? You need to draw one of them. I'm only going to ask you to draw one tangent. Draw the segment. Draw these two. From these two intersections, make these two arcs. These two arcs. Find out where that would intersect the original one right here. That ends up being the radius of a circle. And that circle, if drawn, there's the circle, would intersect the original circle in two spots. There, and well, I already erased it. Those are our two tangent points. So from those 2 points, simply connect the dots, and we're done. So from C to that point is your tangent. From C to that point is your tangent. And you're done. When you open up to the book, they're going to have a whole big thing.
Yeah, they do. It's much more confusing. I'm not.
I can get
It's construction 9. I got 3 minutes left.
Man,
How many constructions did we get through?
9.
Tomorrow, we're going to get through one more. Tomorrow, we have to do the remainder ones, and then you are going to tell me which ones we're going to practice.
Like literally everything after this.
Like the inscribed.
Well, that's the next ones, right? So those are the ones that we'll do one of them, number 10. All right, here we go. Circumscribed circles. This one's pretty quick. All right. Step number 1 is you got to pick 2 sides. It doesn't matter which 2 sides you pick. I pick 2 sides and I make perpendicular bisectors. Doesn't matter. Which one you want, Matt? The bottom and the right. So I'm going to pick this one and that one. I'm going to make perpendicular bisectors. Okay, we've done perpendicular bisectors so many times, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to do it. Okay, perpendicular bisectors. And this is, well, I said I wasn't going to say anything. I already made myself a fool. All right, this is how quickly it can be done if you know what you're doing. Perpendicular bisector. I'm going to go below. Once you get this down, perpendicular bisectors, it's not like 4 minutes. It's like 30 seconds to do a perpendicular bisector.
30 seconds, more like 10.
Well, it does take a little bit of time. All right, I'm done with the bottom one. Now I'm going to do the right one. It can get messy at this point. What we're really interested in is where these 2 perpendicular bisectors would intersect inside the circle. That would be the circumcenter. I'm going to go above this time. Notice I've never changed the measurement on my compass yet. Usually once you have a good measurement, you can use it for all 3 sides if you want. Connect that. And what we're looking for is where these 2 segments intersect. That's really all I'm trying to get, is that point right there. That's the circumcenter. Okay? So this dot right here is your circumcenter. To finish it up, all we do is simply measure the distance for circumcenters. That is the distance between what? Given a triangle, circumscribe a circle, about. So we're making the circle outside. that would be the distance between that dot and there. Notice that would be the same distance. That would be the same distance. From here, we make our circle. And I'm gonna stop right there.
I have a few questions on this.
All right.
I fixed it, because I'm just that big brain.
All right, we will finish this tomorrow.
So the construction circumstances does not really state that you have to draw from a specific point of the triangle to inscribe it, because with the definition of inscribing, it doesn't really tell you it matters where in the circle it is, if it's inscribed or not.
I forgot to grab homework. I'll grab it at some point today. I'll see the student advisement problem. One more time, Seth.
So the
Makes me
definition
look
of an
bad.
inscribed circle
All right.
doesn't really state that it has to be like perfectly in the center. Like
Bro,
here and
No, no, no.
inscribed.
What it states is that the three vertices will touch the circle.
Ah,
So 1, 2, 3. You are right about this, but it turns out that that actually is, we make perpendicular bisectors, there's your circumcenter.
okay, so that's the point where you can.
Yeah. And if we make this, I mean, I freehand this one, right? All three perpendicular bisectors go through the circumcenter.
I'm a failure. I lost my pencil.
I lost my entire pencil bag and I have this singular pen left.
That sucks.
Yep.
Want another pen? I have an extra pen.
All right, e-learners, once again,
need
it will
one
be
back.
the 14
Take it.
constructions and 2 centroid problems. We will finish the review tomorrow. Test will be on Wednesday. Have a wonderful day.